Rey is one of the most powerful Jedi we've ever seen, and frankly, some people take an issue with this fact. New revelations from the Last Jedi Novelization reveal that Kylo Ren is actually the reason for a lot of her power, and it's in more than one way. In this video, I want to talk about how Ben Solo was able to draw out a lot of the power of Rey, and why I think this is just one more reason why the Reylo connection will play a major role in the finale of this saga. Let's talk about it. What is up, YouTube? It's Josh. This is the Den of Nerds. If you love Star Wars the way I do, subscribe to this channel. We do Star Wars Sundays every Sunday, doing a bunch of Star Wars videos, and then I cover Star Wars topics on the Nerdy News Rundown, which is a show I do 5 days a week. Quickly, I want to shout out Paul Northcult, who got the nerd card question correct in my Dark Side of Kylo Ren video. You definitely know your stuff when it comes to Star Wars, Paul, so shout out to you. There'll be another nerd card question at the end of this video. Now, I want to talk about the Rey is not a Mary Sue video that I did. A lot of people had problems with that video. They don't seem to accept some of the evidence that I put forward. And while there were a lot of people that supported my conclusions in there, there was a group of people that brought up something that Pablo Hidalgo said on Twitter. Now, I also went over this in an episode of the Nerdy News Rundown earlier this week, but I wanted to go in depth in this video and talk about what Pablo was saying on Twitter and what I had confirmed for me in the Last Jedi Novelization. This has to do with Kylo Ren sort of unlocking power in Rey during the mind probe scene or the interrogation scene in The Force Awakens. So we're going to get to that in a second, but first I want to reiterate some things that I have brought up when it comes to Rey being incredibly powerful. Darkness rises and the light to meet it. These words were spoken by Snoke, and they were echoed by something Luke Skywalker says when guiding Rey through meditation on Ahch-To. Balance is something that the Force is constantly trying to do, and where there is powerful darkness, there will be powerful light. This is what is going on with Rey, and I don't know how else to say it. She is a conduit for the light side of the Force that was created because Kylo Ren goes so far into the dark side. This was echoed for me in another part of the novelization for The Last Jedi, when Luke first taps into the Force after it being dormant for so long. First of all, the novelization explanation of that scene is so cool, talking about stuff overcoming Luke, him finding his center once again and reaching out with his feelings. Now, in that scene, he sees Rey through the Force and just sees her as this incredible beacon of light. She is absolutely brilliant, shining with the power of the light side, and she is influencing everything around her. She is a true virgins in the Force, and something that is incredible for him to witness. It almost blinds him, which once again just points to the fact that she is so strong. Now, in the novelization, it also goes into the darkness and power that Kylo Ren has. It emphasizes this and talks about how he is becoming stronger and stronger. And I want you to remember that part in the Last Jedi movie where Snoke says that he warned his young apprentice that as his power grew in the dark, his equal in the light would rise to meet him. He thought it was going to be Luke Skywalker, incorrectly, because it is Rey. So you see, the more Kylo goes to the dark side and fuels himself with dark power, the stronger that Rey becomes. He has quite literally created a lot of her power, and that is the first way that he has given her the gift of strength. Now, when it comes to the mind probe scene, this was such an interesting passage in the Last Jedi Novelization. She is remembering the part in The Force Awakens where he tries to invade her mind. Somehow she is able to invade back into his mind, and she instinctually learns all the ways that he accesses his power. She says that it was like 1,000 doors were flung open inside her mind, and it was almost like his training became her training. So in that moment, it perfectly illustrates why Rey was able to gain all of the powers that she did, and how in moments of insight instinct, she is able to tap into a lot of the same powers that Kylo Ren has. As some of my subscribers pointed out, this perfectly explains why she attempts the mind trick right after having this moment with Kylo Ren. As I said in my Rey is not a Mary Sue video, she was already aware just from peripheral knowledge of what the Jedi were that this was something they could do. They could control people with their power. So you take that and combine it with her just having all of these doors flown open and having access to the training that Kylo Ren had, and it makes perfect sense that she would try the mind trick right after that. This is echoed again when Kylo says she's just beginning to test her powers, and the more she is left on her own, the more dangerous she becomes. He also received all of her memories and her possible future, and I think he saw that she was incredibly strong, and he knew there was something going on with the way they had touched minds. Remember too that Kylo tells Snoke that she is strong with the Force, untrained but stronger than she knows. I think that when they had their thoughts enter into each other's mind, he saw her true potential. Now, because the two of them are linked in a yin and yang capacity, and they are the embodiment of the Force desperately trying to bring balance to itself, I believe that when Kylo entered her mind, that is what caused the crazy connection that they felt. This is the Reylo connection. The fact that they are being positioned by the cosmic force, which is the guiding force, the more mythical, spiritual, godlike side of the Force, because that side of the Force is literally positioning them to be the yin and yang sides of balance. When he entered her mind, that is what allowed her to instinctively receive all of his memories, and then that allowed her to push back against him and get inside his head. I mean, just look at the way they fought side by side in the throne room with instinct, moving with each other in perfect synchronization. I mean, she even puts her hand on his hip and kicks back as he leans. Now, this is something that is not unheard of with Jedi. Padawans and Masters have this same type of connection. And one of the coolest things I remember when I was a young Star Wars fan was reading the Young Jedi Knights book and talking about how Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon would fight together without even thinking about it, just instinctually knowing how each other were going to move and how they had to move in concordance with that to battle effectively. It's a really cool thing. And as I said, this is a Padawan and Master type thing. Now, this connection between the Padawan and the Master was said to never be fully explored. We have never seen what the true potential of such a Force bond is, and this had to do with the Jedi putting restrictions. So even though a Padawan and a Master cared about each other deeply, they were not allowed to have that connection flourish to anything even close to romance. They weren't even allowed to have that reach the level of attachment. They had to be restricted with those feelings. But Kylo Ren rejects all of the Jedi teachings, and Rey has never really had it. So their connection is that strong. We are seeing what a Force bond could be when there is no restrictions and when romance is involved. I think this actually perfectly explains the power that Rey has, and it nails home the romantic connection that the Rey and Kylo Ren connection is. It is a true star-crossed lover romance of a story, and I think the cosmic force is at work here, positioning these two people to care deeply about each other and embody the light and the dark that is required to create balance. So those are just some of my thoughts after reading the Last Jedi Novelization. I had it completely nailed into my brain that Rey is not just a Mary Sue, and her powers make sense. Kylo Ren by becoming the darkness and infusing her with the light, but also by unlocking all of the doors in her brain and allowing her to view his training. He has created the power that Rey has. So I don't know, to me it makes perfect sense, but I definitely want to know what all of you think about this. Do you think this is a little too crazy, or do you think this is a great explanation of why Rey is so strong? I really want to hear what all of the Star Wars fans have to say about this in the comment section below. All right, let's check that nerd card really quickly. I want to know, what is the official name for baby porgs? This was also something I learned from the Last Jedi Novelization, but what is the correct way to refer to baby porgs? Answer that question in the comment section below. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you in the next video.